Welcome to the Success Frequency with host Aliyah Yasmin. Over the next hour, you're going to learn the impact in your life that results from your way of thinking. Aliyah and her guest will explore the best ways to achieve growth for you. Now, here's Aliyah.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Success Frequency. Joining me today is Alex Lanning, and we are going to talk a little bit about real estate, social media, and how to build and grow success. Alex is pretty well known here in Phoenix, Arizona, and he has many multi-million-dollar listings that he has sold and made stuff happen. And I'm so excited to have him on the show because he really has a growth mindset. Welcome to the show, Alex.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. Tell our listeners a little bit about you and what got you into this.
No, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I was born in China. I grew up here when I was 8 years old. I didn't speak any English, had to learn everything again. And kind of getting used to the living situation of America coming from a massive city in China. It's right next to Hong Kong. I grew up not primarily focusing on real estate. It kind of stumbled upon. I was an engineer prior to real estate. I did a lot of fiber routes. I designed the fiber routes and kind of traveled all over the country. And I managed a group of 10 guys, and we just kind of traveled everywhere. Everyone was older than I was in the business, and I honestly didn't really like it. I didn't really like the work schedule. I would be gone for 3 to 4 months, come back for 2 or 3 days, and then leave all over again. Real estate was something that was really implemented into me as a young kid because we wanted to have our roots here in the U.S., right? My mom was always like, we need a house. And like, as naive as it was, I didn't know what rent to mortgage was. I didn't know the difference. It was just a different saying that people did. And I wanted to be a developer in real estate, and real estate agent was the first thing that came up. I read a bunch of books regarding real estate and really, really interested me into this field. And that's how I kind of got started here in Phoenix, and been loving it ever since.
That is a pretty cool story. So, such a transition takes a while. How do you bridge the gap between that type of transition from engineer over to real estate?
I didn't know what it was going to be like. For me, I thought it was suits, coffee mug, and I needed a desk in a corporate office somewhere. And that's what I kind of wanted from kind of having a blue collar life of, constantly being dirty and boots and all that stuff. Real estate was a little bit different from what I expected it to be. And I kind of trialed and erred when I went to schooling for real estate, right? I bought and sold a bunch of clothes. I have this on my social media as well in terms of I used $200 and we turned it into $6,000, and that paid for schooling.
Whoa, that is amazing. So, to do that on a little scale, but imagine doing that on a bigger scale. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I wanted to test myself to see, if entrepreneurship was for me, and to really test myself to kind of see where real estate would take me, and it's been limitless.
Yeah, I would definitely encourage people to do that. That's a great test to do. Just kind of test yourself. It's amazing what happens when you push yourself just a little bit and you just do one little thing and you're like, whoa. I mean, it builds confidence too, right?
It certainly does. And I did it when I was younger too, throughout school and whatnot. But, putting yourself out there and being disciplined through it really prepared me for real estate and being competitive.
Yeah.
We went through every thrift store that you can possibly find throughout the valley with $200, and we flipped it within a month.
Wow. That's pretty cool. That is pretty cool. Talk to me. You have quite a presence over too on social media. Talk to me a little bit about that.
Social media, I'm always been the youngest guy in the room as soon as I started real estate, right? Real estate is not everybody's first or second choice of being agents. And it's mostly people in their 40s and 50s, and I'm a lot younger than that. And I used to be in meetings, and all, the agents in the room would be like, hey, can you show me how to send a message on Facebook, or how do I post this? Or, I would honestly hide. Like, I didn't like it, and I didn't want that to be what I was known for, as the younger kid that knew how to do social media. But as time went on, I started to realize that I had more of an advantage than most people did in our industry, meaning social media is something that I grew up with, is something that I understood, and I understood the power of social media, and it's completely free. I tried every prospecting way, as traditional real estate goes, open houses, door knocking, cold calling, but social media was another way that I had an upper hand with agents that's been doing the business for 20 plus years, right? My growth in the business has been tremendous due to the online presence that we're able to offer. Of course, me and my team still do, the traditional routes of real estate, but social media is something that we're going to be able to benefit a lot of buyers and sellers, not only on the personal brand level, but for the marketing of the property that we're selling.
That's pretty genius. Is there anything that you would suggest to somebody? Like, how do you use this tool effectively? Like, what's your path to using it effectively?
For me, I think the most important thing is remember what social media is for, right? It's an engaging platform between one to another, right? So I like to think of it on a way of, what do you do for work, who you are, and why should I follow you, right? I think those three whys is what we try to brand everything along. To create what you would imagine seeing a real estate agent be, right? Like, if anybody that's going to hire a real estate agent, they're going to look that person up, right?
Yeah.
Has he or she been selling? Has he or she good at marketing? If you can't market yourself correctly, I don't think you can market a property correctly.
Yeah, I almost feel like the days for resume are like behind you. It's like your resume is your social presence. Like,
Yes.
that's what I've been noticing with everything. I mean, it's been a transformation, I think, in my methods of thinking as well, because for me, I was used to that resume concept, obviously a little bit older.
Sure.
But understanding the power behind the social media, was really took me a while to like grasp that and really wrap my brain around that concept. I love that you said that. What are your what are your staples that you do for real estate through that platform?
We do a lot of property tours. We do a lot of before remodel photos, and we do after, right? Looking at social media, one thing that I did notice that, agents would be pushing social media is that they would market all of the new listings, right? Every time they had a new listing, they would market it everywhere, but they don't show what happened when they closed. They almost left that behind in terms of, if you're providing your audience of what's new, then why didn't you show how you closed the property? And I think that's the importance of closing that chapter, right? If I'm going to market a property, hey, new listing, then I'm going to market how I sold that property, right? So at the end of the day, it's creating that story and allowing people on the inside to see what's going to be the most interesting to them.
Yeah, yeah. So visuals as well too, right?
100%.
Yeah.
We try to be as energetic as possible when, the camera switches on, even though I could be extremely tired. But
Yeah.
as soon as it goes on, I'm like, hey, what's going on, guys? It's Alex Lanning. So, we try to make it as entertaining, but also getting our point across for the agent and also for the property.
Yeah. So I was browsing through my social media and I saw a posting that you had. You guys were cleaning up this property that looked like it was a total dump. What happened there? What was the story behind that?
Yeah, no, like my sellers, they buy properties all over the Phoenix Valley, and it was just another one of those situations where they lived there. They had, stuff like mounted on the front yard. They tore down the backyard fencing and used the alleyway as their backyard. I walked, into the backyard. I was like, oh, this is a really big backyard, but there was just no fence. It was into the alley. And, that's just one of the situations that we come across that, it's unfortunate to see that that could be someone's living situation. But what we try to do is go in there and we show the before, because a lot of investors won't do that, right? I want to show every aspect before new listing and when we close the property. So that way that my clients and other agents are able to see everything that we've done.
Yeah, that's pretty transparent too, which is really nice because you really get to see the whole picture. You get to see the transformation, you get to see the community, you get to see everything. That's always like exciting.
Absolutely. Like my sellers has been, multiple times where neighbors will come, to them and be like, "Oh my gosh, thank you for finally cleaning this up. Thank you for, getting them out." As, for that property specifically, they've been there for years and has been terrorizing the entire neighborhood with everything that they have. They had cars, motors and transmissions and everything that you can name.
That's so interesting. I love to see stories like that. I love to see stuff like that because I think it's just it's keeping us in the creation process, which we are thinking of a path, even as someone purchasing the property, looking at the potential of the property, building a vision for it and being able to execute it and then recording that. I think that's pretty cool because then the whole world kind of gets to see that type of value creation that you're in the process of doing.
Yeah, and everyone loved like HGTV, right?
Yeah.
Like where you see the before and then you see the renovations. So that's what we kind of followed a little bit because we thought of everything's always nice, right? Like luxury properties and, remodel properties, they're all nice, but let me shock a little bit. Let me give the bad and ugly before we show the nice to where you appreciate the nice a little bit more.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think that's so genius. What other projects are you working on right now?
We have listings all over right now. We have one coming up in Vistancia that's, built in 2004. The solar panels are completely paid off. We have one in Casa Grande. We're stretching everywhere in the valley when I'm saying we're all across. Casa Grande is a beautiful property, is fully renovated. We have multiple remodels throughout Phoenix, and we have one that's a custom built by the builder of Eagle Mountain. In Eagle Mountain, it's a custom home. We have properties all over, and if you look on my Instagram, you can see it every time.
That's pretty cool. Talk to me a little bit about what do you do to get buyers for these properties? Now I know Phoenix market is a little bit hot, but like what's your path forward on that?
I primarily focused on first-time home buyers. Not only it is super rewarding to help a family get to where, from renting to owning a property, but it relates a lot back to me when it comes to, being an immigrant coming to the U.S. It meant a lot for me to own a home. And I want to provide that back into the community. I want to provide my expertise and, what I understand of real estate and explaining it the most simple way as I can for someone to understand and maneuver through. And I've had clients where, they bought their first home and now they're investors and they have a great portfolio and, they're cash flowing on their properties.
That's pretty awesome. That's a pretty cool way to look at it for sure. Talk to me a little bit about like networking and stuff too. Like what's your networking like goals? What do you do?
Yeah, besides real estate, because I feel like I do it 24/7, I golf a lot. I have a group of golfing buddies that we go out and we have fun. We attend events, for golfing, and of course, real estate brings a lot of networking in as we get invited to events and as investors and as real estate agents and whatnot. So,
that's pretty awesome.
Meet some cool people.
Yeah. I'm sure golfing for sure. You definitely will definitely get some good connections through that path. That's pretty cool. And then you get some relaxation as well too. So
sometimes if you're playing good, sometimes there's some bad days out there.
Yeah, for sure. What makes you feel successful in real estate?
It's the day that I give keys. A lot of people are like, I love people in real estate, or I love the house in real estate. That sometimes, when you're going through, I like to say we're not, people say that real estate agents are salesmen, right? But I like to say that we're problem solvers. We have so many different hats that we put on. What makes me feel successful in this is when I finally deliver keys, right? The buyers or the seller has finally given so much, and it's been a roller coaster ride on the last couple of months. It's super, super satisfying to me when I'm able to do my job and provide whatever goal that they had from the beginning.
So you start with the end in mind. I like that. Like giving keys, because that's the end in mind. The end goal is
Absolutely. We work
to give it.
backwards.
Yeah. No, I love that. I absolutely love that. I train people to think in that with the end in mind. So it's always like, what's your end goal? Start with the end in mind, and then let it
Work
unfold.
backwards.
Yeah.
We plan from the beginning.
For sure, for sure. We are getting ready for our first little break. We're going to take a break here, and as soon as we get back, we're going to chat some more with Alex.
Sublime Knowledge Mindset Coaching offers guaranteed results. 100% of clients reported seeing positive changes in their mindset after just one session. Clients learn to release negative thoughts, feelings, and emotions, improving their overall well-being. Create the life you've always envisioned for yourself. Shift your mindset after one session, or your money back, guaranteed. Welcome back to the Success Frequency with Aleha Yasmin. We hope you are finding these tools and tips applicable to your own situations in life. Now, back to the show.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Success Frequency. I'm sitting here with Alex Lanning, and we are chatting about real estate, social media, how he has been able to bridge the gap and achieve a lot more goals in his life through using social media and using that as a platform for networking and other areas in which he goes out, he networks, he gets these clients, and he closes these deals.
Absolutely.
He markets himself pretty well, because that's how I discovered him, was through social media. So that was pretty impressive. I want to talk a little bit about goals. I want to talk about how do we set goals for ourselves. Like, in real estate, there is a selling part of it. And to be a salesperson, to me, is you're always selling something, because you're always either selling yourself or you're selling a product, right? So what is it about the sales part that that really strengthens this growth? Is it connection with clients? What is it?
I think there's a different, like you said, I think there's multiple different ways that you could look at it as comes to sales, right? Like selling yourself, selling the property. And for me, I think it's creating the relationship and subtracting the fact of, like, I'm a car salesman at a dealership and I'm here to sell you the car and it's going to be the best deal. I think it's generally listening to what that client is going to look for and what they're trying to do, right? When we go into appointments, we listen for why, when, and how, right? Why are you selling? Why are you buying? When are we doing this? And why are we doing this, right? Like, those key aspects of it, I think, is really important to create that genuine relationship with that client and actually care for them. If you put the client forward, the sale will come, right? If we focus on the clients and focus on what they need, the sale of that will always come. Like, for example, like I had this deal where the buyer was paying the property in cash, and it was a $2 million deal. Everything was fine, everything was great, but he wanted these benches in front of the house. And these are just normal benches that you can get anywhere. But he really wanted those benches. And so I called the agent. I'm like, hey, we want those benches to make this work. And he was like, benches? What benches? And I was like, the 2 benches outside. And calls me back 15 minutes later, and he was like, you can't have them. Those benches are sentimental to the seller. It's not going to happen. I go, we don't have a deal. Right. And he started to get really, really angry and was just like, you're going to lose this deal over benches, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And why I'm telling you that, and we ended up getting the deal, and then we got the benches. The reason why I'm telling you that is because, yes, I could have bought my clients benches. Yes, they could have found other benches, but it's putting the buyer's interest forward between my own needs and wants out of the sale. Is primarily the most important thing to me, and that's the goal that we set.
Yeah, it's interesting. There's lots of like things that really are just important to somebody that you can't really understand, but building a strong connection and really listening to the client, I think, is key. I've done sales for many years. I've trained people with sales, and listening is one of the things that I talk about a lot with them, because I'm like, there's a reason why you got two ears and one mouth. You really do have to listen twice as much as you speak. And there's a lot of power to that, because every time you speak, every time you're listening and you're listening to what their needs are, the better you are at taking notes and writing down what those needs actually are, and then reaffirming it back to the client. They then realize these are like little tips that like really helps the other person to say, you know what, this person's listening to me, they care about what I'm doing, and it's not just about money. The money will come, but providing the service, it's always about service, and the ability to go beyond when it comes to the way that we service clients. So I think that's amazing that you do that, and to me, that's a great mindset to have, is to be able to put that person first and not put the payout first. Right. And stay focused on the individual and making sure that they have the things that they need. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and one of the things too is all about educating too, and I think the trust becomes built after educating, right? And even though I have buyers that's like, hey, I want to make an offer on the first day, I always push and decline that, even though if they're very, very adamant about it, just because I want them to see everything. I want them to make sure that they're making the right move to make this work, right? Like it's not like we're buying a pair of shoes to where you can go, like I'll wear it.
Yeah.
It's a house that we're talking about, and most people don't have the luxury of buying multiple homes throughout their life. And I think the stats is like, one average person will buy one or two homes their entire lifetime. So, what I do is a very huge chapter in their life. So I want to make sure that they're educated on exactly what's happening.
Yeah. What is a good path that you use when you have to like deal with interest rates raising, or like, what it is like what's your workaround like mentally to overcome those challenges?
Yeah, and I know a lot of agents focus on the interest rates, and I know that it's one of the most important things in the real estate world, right? But I try not to look at that at all. I try not to focus on it at all. What I try to do is I just tell myself that if one person can't do it, another person will, right? And it's a matter of working twice as hard for what we had before. And that's not, to say that the interest rate is hard. It's like people can purchase the property now, and if they can afford the monthly payment, by all means, right? But if the people wait for the interest rates to drop, they're gonna have to compete with other buyers that's gonna be bidding over asking price. Yeah. So it's kind of like a double-edged sword as of right now. But regardless of it, people are still buying and people are still selling.
Yeah, I mean, I think the real estate market's still going pretty strong in Phoenix, which is fascinating to like see,
Yeah, or one of the fastest growing states in America.
Yeah, I wonder why that is. Why do you think that is?
I think we have everything except for a beach. Right? We have everything except for a beach. Though. Yes, we have pools. I think it's just, I think COVID really started that. I think that we have a lot of opportunities here in Arizona, from development, from the growth, from, everything. For the last 4 or 5 years, I think Arizona is becoming one of the top cities to live in, competing with, Austin and Nashville. I think Arizona's better.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah, we're like the sixth largest city, I think I read.
our traffic is getting worse somewhere.
Yeah, it is getting worse and worse. That's why people are moving out to like Casa Grande and stuff.
There you go. There you go.
So this is pretty cool. Let's touch a little bit on like, do you ever get like repeat clients and recommendations and stuff like that?
Absolutely. That's
Yeah.
like half of my business
Okay.
because, you know, when we're done with the first transaction, we've created a relationship, and I consider most of my clients friends. Like,
Yeah.
it's not just a transaction to where they can't call me for anything. If they have any questions, they have any concerns, they can always call me, and it's become a relationship where it's valued on both sides, right? To where they can call me 6 months later, hey, like I have this friend, blah blah blah, and they'll know that I'll take good care of them because of the relationship that we built.
I love that you focus on relationship building because I think that's really what sets a salesperson aside, especially when you have like, when you're building and you're growing your brand. It's those relationships, it's that integrity that really sets you apart from the challenges that you'll encounter. Because even when things are tough, you still have a reliable, foundation through your relationships that you've built.
Yeah, absolutely. I think relationship are everything. Communication is everything.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. The other part that I want to touch a little bit on is tell me a little bit about how your perception had to change when you got into this world and how your perception still needs to change from time to time to adapt to the market changes.
Yeah, it's constantly adapting, right? Like if we don't adapt, we're just gonna be left behind, right?
Yeah,
Like
so
social
true.
media came into the real estate world. Like when I first started, I was the only agent on social media that was putting myself forward in front of a house, right? Everybody just did videos of the house, but not the agent. So I wanted to put a face in front of that house. Perception is going to constantly be adapting to what the market is, what people are reacting to, and we just continue to adapt.
Yeah, we make those changes as we need to as things kind of shift and change a little bit more. What are your visions? What do you see? What do you see for yourself like in a few years?
Yeah, in a few years, I will create a team in real estate. I will have a marketing agency, and I'll slowly move into more investments, more fix and flips, and eventually I'll go into develop.
Talk a little bit about fix and flips. Like, what does that look like right now?
It's definitely being taken over by a lot of wholesalers,
Uh-huh.
right? The trends that you see of wholesalers making crazy amount of money, it limits and it restricts a lot of investors that's actually going to hold the property and actually fix it and flip it and sell it back onto the market, right? Because wholesalers will have 10 contracts on top of whoever's going to buy it, and then now the investor can't put as much money into the property to flip it the way that they want, and
Because he's got to pay the wholesaler,
yes,
right?
correct. When you have 10 hands in it,
Yeah.
it's no longer that profitable to make the quality of the house good. I think that's the last couple of years we've seen a lot of flips that's just lipstick over, lipstick
Flips on a
over.
pig.
Yeah, it reflects a lot of quality
Yeah.
into the work.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. Do you see like a lot more wholesalers now, even in Phoenix?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I get wholesaler calls on a day-to-day basis from
Really?
every aspect. Yeah.
And their whole thing is like just trying to find these properties and, just connecting. In case nobody knows what a wholesaler does, they find these properties, they go under contract, and then they find somebody else to buy, an investor to buy the property.
Yeah, basically they make the difference of what they got it under contract for, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I get calls, I get emails, I get texts for any distressed properties that I see, and I think wholesaling was great business the last couple of years, but I think as the interest rates take a hit and as investors kind of take their step back because of where the interest rates are, I think it's taking a little bit of a hit right now.
Interesting. Interesting. So now you're just kind of dealing mostly with either investors or somebody looking to purchase the property.
Yeah, correct.
Do you have a preference?
I like all of it. It's a
Okay.
challenge on all aspects. I deal with first-time home buyers, investors, rental properties, and I deal with luxury properties. And first-time home buyers is probably my favorite. It's a little bit of less pressure, and it's little bit more rewarding.
It's a little bit of a longer process too, right? Sometimes for closing.
Not necessarily. We
Okay.
close about 21 days, 25 days
Oh, okay.
on
That's
an
not too
average.
bad. It's not too bad. How do you solicit clients for that?
They reach out to me
Okay.
because of social media and
You
yeah,
build those connections in that through that
great. It's
portal.
easier to share social media than it is to share contacts nowadays, right? You can
Yes,
just
that's so
DM them
true.
the profile.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Um, so let's talk a little bit about what do you think is the most valuable mindset for selling real estate?
I think there's two things. I think it's discipline and consistency.
Uh-huh.
Just because everybody that's a new agent that doesn't have an already relationship in real estate is going to have a really hard time after 6 months, right? Because real estate, only get paid when you make a transaction, when you close a property. Within the first 6 months, I think you have a lot of fun, right? Everything is new. Oh my gosh, I get to go see a property. I get to look nice. I get to, you know, uh, you know. uh, and kind of have that freshness to it. But after 6 months, you're like, oh my gosh, I haven't gotten paid in 6 months. I kind of need something. That discipline and that consistency really kind of starts. I have a old saying, it's kind of corny, but I like to say to all my new agents is imagine yourself on a fishing boat, right? And you're a fisherman and you're the only one on that boat, and every single day you need to fish, right? Meaning that every single day, no matter how busy your business is or how much leads you already have, you still need to go out there and find more leads.
Yeah.
And keeping that consistency and making sure that you aren't going to, because there's a lot of insecurity as new agents, right? There's no credibility and there's no experience. I like to set small goals versus yearly goals, right? I like the day-to-day goals, the weekly goals, and even monthly goals, but I don't like the 3 months, 6 months, a year goals just because it's so hard to reach. And when you do a longer time, people intend to set bigger goals, which is a little bit harder and feels like you're never going to reach it.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's a great way to look at it because you're kind of a little bit more in the present moment in short-term goals and that definitely is beneficial. We're going to take our second break and when we get back, we're going to talk a little bit about what makes people have credibility, what gains credibility in this real estate world. Hi, friends. I have some really exciting news. I have just released the Mental Duality Guide to Life-Changing Results. And this simple guide has transformed so many people's lives because what it helps to do is it helps to open up your awareness to the areas that you may be feeling unsupported, insecure, fearful, trauma that you may have had from the past that you just need to shed some light on and bring your awareness to. And the guide bridges the gap from a negative space over to a more neutral or a high vibrational frequency. So when we see that it's unsupported that we're feeling, we know dualistically that it is support. We need to feel supported in this life. Or if we're feeling insecure, we know that it's security we need to work on feeling, or maybe confidence that we need to work on feeling. And this guide allows you to open up how you actually feel. It allows you to kind of sift through some of the negative thoughts, feelings, and emotions that you might be experiencing and have a way, a bridge to move them from a negative space into a positive space. I've had so many clients just see amazing results. And me, myself, I have gone to this guide in order to identify thought patterns that I was experiencing and analyze those thought patterns if they were positive or negative. Sometimes we get a thought just like seeps into our mind and we can't really put it into a category. But when we sit with a program like this, we understand what our underlying feelings might be, and bridging the gap from the negative over to something that's going to be more neutral or more positive is the secret to our personal growth and development. And this guide is going to guide you through that. Hopefully one day you join us for the Intuitive Ascending Mind program, but this guide is free for you to work on. It's personal to you. And what it'll do is that it'll open up your awareness. And once you go through that transition of opening up your awareness, you understand the areas that you need to work on. And it also will give you some wonderful affirmations to help build you foundationally from the ground up into a more positive, more happier, more healthier version of yourself, and more wealthier, of course. Peace and blessings, my friends.
Welcome back to the Success Frequency with Aaliyah Yasmin. We hope you are finding these tools and tips applicable to your own situations in life. Now, back to the show.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back. I'm sitting here chatting with Alex. We are talking about real estate, the market, credibility. I want to know a little bit more about credibility. Talk to me about what builds credibility.
Credibility can come from all different ways. I think it comes from the experience and also the knowledge of that individual agent to advise the client. Like one of the touching going back to social media, a lot of people the last couple of years has been talking about fake news, right? Title lines of articles. Credibility can be masked up when it comes to social media, right? An agent having no sales, most people don't know how to look up sales on that individual. But if you put your face in front of a property, they think it's your listing. So that builds credibility immediately for a new agent to kind of cover up what they don't know. And I think the more you do it, the more credibility that you have with experience.
That's actually great coaching advice for new agents, because I think,
fake it till you make it.
Fake it till you make it. People put a lot of heat on that, but I think that there's a lot of truth to it, because I really believe in building up credibility through, doing the thing, pretending you're doing the thing, and then you start doing the thing, because there's a lot of action that comes in and emotion that comes into just from a mindset perspective in which you're enacting this experience and then you're experiencing the experience. And that really does help to bridge the gap quite a bit.
Yeah, exactly.
You said something that I just love to hear. Talk about writing the goals.
Yeah. So for me, I have so much things going on and I have so many transactions going on. Writing on a day-to-day, it's more like to do and, daily goals that I want to hit. I write it down on my notes. I don't like pencil paper because I'll forget it somewhere and I don't do it. But on my notes on my phone, every day when I wake up, and it helps with anxiety, just putting everything down that I need to do and also what I want out of that day. And I check it off at every point, and it's one step at a time.
Yeah, this is something most of my videos, most of everything that I put out there, I'm like, when building a goal, the first thing you really want to do is you want to put the goal, have a big goal, shoot for it.
Right.
But every day is that daily intentions as you're writing down the goals and the daily repetition of focusing in. These are my intentions for today. I call them intentions when they're daily, and I call them goals when they're big. The big goals are the BHAGs, the big hairy audacious goals that we go after. And then you've got your intentions, and every day your intentions are these little steps that you're taking along the way. Little steps, little steps, little steps. And I love the concept of writing it down, because that's what makes you efficient at what you do.
And it feels accomplishing.
Yes.
Right? When you check it off, it feels good to check off what you had to do versus you feel like there's so much on your shoulders, and it just kind of makes you procrastinate all the things that you have to do, right? So
sure. to take it out of your mind, put it down to paper, put it in your phone, whatever it is. I highly recommend doing that because every time that you do it, you look at it and you're like, okay, I've accomplished this. It releases dopamine, so you're excited because you have accomplished it.
Right.
And then secondly, it's, another task, because even if you just, so many times we get distracted. If we're not planning our day, somebody else is planning it for us.
Right.
And one of the key things is that we have to take ownership and take control of our days. And that's such a key way to do it, because you set your goals, but then you're setting intentions for your goals. You're revisiting it. You're making sure you check everything off as you go through the process of doing that. And I love the writing it down part, because Brian Tracy has drilled that into me like years ago. It's like, write it down, write it down, write it down, write it down. And the moment I started to write it down, I became organized in my methods of thinking. I became organized in the tasks that I was going out to accomplish. And I didn't miss anything. A lot of times, people are like, oh, I forgot I was supposed to do this. You can't forget it when you write it down. First of all, you're reminding the brain that this needs to be done. And then the better you get at doing that, then the more organized your mind is. The more organized your mind is, the more organized your physical reality becomes. It all kind of like falls into place, So I love that concept of writing it down. Anything else that you do?
Yeah, I was that crazy person that I never had a calendar. So for some reason, I remembered everything, like where it was, like what time it was, who it was with. And, as I got more and more busy into the business, I was like, I can't do this. So having a calendar for me on, every hour of the day of exactly what's going to happen, relating it to my checklist of daily goals, was something that really helped me release and reduce a lot of stress and anxiety. And it helped me do more, because when I put it down on the calendar, it eliminated going, oh, okay, that doesn't take that long.
Yeah.
Right. And it freed up a lot more time versus I'm scattered brain all day trying to get something done, but then I didn't do the rest of the stuff. So calendar and the checklist on a day-to-day basis really helps.
Oh, yeah, I agree with that. I think calendar keeps you on track, keeps you on time, even setting like little reminders on your phone. We've got great technology to help us support us through those challenges.
Yeah, and I think it helps balancing too, right?
Yeah.
Like where I feel like most people have, a calendar and a schedule. But when it comes down to like the hour and, the 30 minutes or whatever it is, and you can balance that with your personal life and also with work to where you go, oh, I have 2 hours available on Tuesday from 12 to 2 or whatever it is. I think it helps a lot of balancing between personal and work life too.
Yeah. I think also I want to share this tip with listeners, is that when you set the intention and you allocate the time for the intention, do nothing else other than that.
Correct.
Like do nothing else other than that task. And it's just like a task that would normally take some people like 4 hours to do, you probably can get it done in like a half hour just from shutting yourself down from everything else and just doing that one task.
Absolutely. It's like no one can really work out at home unless you're very, very, like everyone likes going to the gym because you're surrounded by the people that's doing it.
Right.
You allocate an hour to the gym and you can get more done versus working out at home, because then if your phone rings or if you're hungry or if you're watching TV and you get distracted, and then it takes you hours to work. So
yeah, it takes you forever to like get that process done. But the moment you put yourself into the environment and you're not distracted, it really makes a big difference in the effectiveness that you're going to have with your time and with your schedule, because it's difficult when you're busy and you have different things going on simultaneously at the same time. You have to definitely harness the skill of managing your time and managing it effectively and setting intentions and setting goals and, reviewing that stuff.
absolutely.
This is great stuff. Tell me about, what do you do to overcome failures? I'm sure you get a lot of failures in this industry.
Yeah, absolutely. I like failures. I actually encourage it a lot, especially with my new agents and for myself is, at the end of the day, it's a numbers game, right? Like 100 people will tell you no, but 2 people will tell you yes. And that's what we're looking for,
Yeah.
right? Failures will not only allow you to gain more experience and learn from your mistakes, but it also make you a little bit stronger. Every time there's a failure, I think it's important to look at what you've done wrong and analyze it and embrace it and feel it in terms of the emotion,
Yeah.
and then continue forward. I think failure is a huge, huge part of anybody's success of, figuring out what's right and what's wrong and having that trial and error. Especially when it comes to real estate with prospecting, it's all a numbers game, right? You knock 100 doors,
Yeah.
2 people is going to tell you yes, and the 98 people is going to tell you go somewhere else, right? So yeah, for sure.
Yeah, just being able to collect the no's, get over them as quickly as possible, and it's really the path forward for sure.
Like no should just kind of skip over your head and land somewhere else.
Yeah,
Like,
no,
you
just
kind of get
next.
numb to it. Yeah, no should just be like, oh, okay, cool. Yeah, it's just becomes another word.
Yeah. Do you ever find yourself being persistent sometimes if you do get a no to get over the hump of the no sometimes?
Yeah, like I had a really hard time with it in the beginning, and I had another agent the other day that was is extremely afraid of no's. She texted, to follow up with a client, and the client never texted back. And it's our weekly meeting. Hey, where you at with that client? Well, they never answered back, and it's been 2 weeks. I was like, why didn't you send another text? Well, I'm not double texting him, and this is not personal. This is business.
Business,
and,
yeah.
There's a separation of dealing with no's. Like I have clients tell me no all the time, but love me 6 months later because I was so consistent at pursuing.
When I'm coaching in sales, one of the key things that I say is that 3 no's, you're good to go. Like when that person first says no, sometimes it's our instinct to say no, and we do need to spend a little bit more time with them on a second attempt. And then I think by a third attempt, we need to just give it the final attempt. It's just final. You play around with your proposal, and then you reach back out again, and you just do one final attempt. And then if they give you the third no, okay, it's good to go. Like, it's time to move on. Time to move forward onto something else. But it's very fascinating because the people that have a difficult time managing that have a difficult time getting over the humps, and they're less likely to succeed when they have a difficult time with managing no's and managing failures. It doesn't take much to make someone feel, and it may not be something personal. This, kind of comes back to perception as well, because sometimes it's not something personal. That person could just be on vacation and just says, I'm not answering this. This is business, or this is work. Absolutely. And it's time with the family now, and I'm just not responding to this individual. Or it could be something that's a little bit deeper. Yeah,
and especially when I'm training new agents too, I encourage failure. Like I don't want them to be successful immediately, because I think that creates a perception of this is easy.
Yeah.
Right? I want them to go through many hardships. I want them to have as many no's thrown at them as possible when they're first starting, because then they'll manage and know how to maneuver through those hard times, and then the success becomes a little bit more easier as time goes on, right?
Yeah.
I highly, highly encourage failure.
It's building resilience too. It's building resilience. It's building resilience to understand that you just keep moving forward. Like it, and then there comes a point where the no's are no longer like, it doesn't even bother you. Yeah. It's just okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
And I think that's such valuable information. What is your next steps? What's important to you now? What's your next steps?
My next steps are just production. I want my production and my sales as an individual agent as of right now to be one of the highest in all of Arizona, right? I truly believe in social media. I truly believe in what I do, how I can compete with other people that's been doing this for the last 20 years. I'm very, very focused on production in terms of making sure that not only I can do it getting the sales that I want, but also doing it the right way, right? Taking care of the people that I actually represent and that I actually work for to the best that I possibly can while doing it at the same time, and go from there.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I like your mindset. I like, it's always about mindset at the end of the day. So I think the mindset of what is the workaround, what is my niche, what am I skilled at, what am I great at doing, like just being able to observe the talent that you're able to recognize within yourself is also another path to personal growth and development, which I think really makes an impact, because when you recognize what you're good at doing, you can get into that realm. And if you know that you're not good at doing something and that task has to be done, you delegate that out to somebody else. Because it doesn't make sense for you to like constantly work at something that just doesn't come, it's not intrinsic to you. But
Right.
When you're working at something that makes you happy, you enjoy doing it, it doesn't feel like work. It feels like hobby.
Right.
And that's what your career should look like. That's what your path should look like. As you're choosing a path and you're choosing a career as you move forward in life, I think it's really important to make sure that you're looking at it as though I would do this even if I wasn't getting paid for doing it, because I just love doing it. It just makes me happy. And I think that makes us want to do it, feel fulfilled in doing it, and live a life that really feels like it's in a beautiful alignment. Alex, share with everybody, where can they reach you at?
Any social media platform, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, it's under Alex Lanning, AlexLanning. And yeah, thank you for having me on, and I appreciate it.
And you can always check us out at sublimeknowledge.com. In July, we're hosting a retreat, which is going to be a ton of fun at the Wigwam Resort. So anybody looking to sign up to join us, it's going to be me and Roberto Bugado hosting this retreat on July 16th and 17th. We're also entering our 2-year anniversary. We've accomplished a lot in these last 2 years.
I'll be there for sure.
Oh, that's awesome.
I love it.
Yes, I'm very excited about it. I'm very excited. And hopefully we can have some of our listeners. You can check us out at sublimeknowledge.com. Thank you, everybody. Make every day your greatest day ever, and have a wonderful, wonderful month.
Thanks for tuning in to the Success Frequency with Aaliyah Yasmin. We hope you've learned something that can help you achieve your goals this month. Tune in next week for another inspiring episode. Until then, have a beautiful month.